let's talk about all of the things I made in March and what I hope to make in April. Hello, my name is Emily Crow from The Cozy Crow, and welcome to my YouTube channel, and welcome to today's podcast episode 52. Episode 52 of the Crochet and Knitting Podcast. I've got both crocheting and knitting, finished objects, and works in progress to share with you. And I also have some fun plans for the upcoming couple months that I would love to talk about. All right, the first one, the biggest one, the one I was closest to finishing last podcast episode is my Astrid blanket by Mallory Crawl. It is taking up a lot of space, and this is just like a throw size blanket basically. It's 12 squares by 12 squares. You can learn more about this blanket in a vlog that I recently posted about my process of actually joining all these squares together and finishing up this project. I also have some previous vlogs where I worked on these squares out of the book boxes that they came from Woolberry Fiber Co. And I read the books associated with them. So there's a lot of vlogs about this blanket. So I don't have a ton more to say other than we've given this a ton of love over the past few weeks. My daughter loves it. It's perfect for cuddling up on the couch, watching a movie together, things like that. It's gotten a lot of use. I like how crochet is a thicker fabric than knitting in the same kind of yarn weight. And so this is kind of hefty. It's a little bit of a weighted throw blanket scenario. And so we've really enjoyed it. You can see I've got 4 different color palettes on here. This is just part of the blanket that I'm showing. So we've got this winter palette that was from the Winter Book Society box from Woolberry Fiber Co. This is the spring color palette. This is the summer color palette, and then the winter color palette. I also have some plain bare yarn squares to kind of fill in the gaps so that I could make this blanket in the dimensions I wanted. Ugh. Okay. That was hurting my shoulders a little to just like hold it up like that. It's like that science experiment where you like hold your arms straight out and you're holding books up and you don't last very long in that kind of position. So putting the blanket down, but I'm really happy with how this blanket turned out. And while it was a really long-term project that took over a year between making all the squares, and there are a lot of ends, I did some of them as I went, and some of them I had to do all at the end and just kind of power through a whole bunch of them. I didn't have a deadline for this project, which made it a little easier to just work on this as I was in the mood and know that it would get it done eventually. All that being said, I kind of want to start another blanket project, though I'm not quite sure what I want to make. But making this didn't make me sick of making blankets, even though on paper it sounds like it could have done that. It didn't. I'm really excited. I really love this blanket. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I would love to make more. I do need more bare yarn or something to join. I'm thinking I'm making something with those yarns that are all lined up there, but we'll talk about that in a later section of my podcast once we talk about my upcoming plans or ideas for things I want to make soon. If you want to learn more about exact details of this blanket, especially how I did an additional round of these cluster stitches, these puff stitches that is not included in the pattern, if you want to hear all about my process making the blanket, even about all the books that inspired these colorways from Woolberry Fiber Co., check out all of those vlogs because I have them on my channel. I have 4 seasonal vlogs for each of the different seasonal boxes from Woolberry Fiber Co., plus the finishing up vlog that I just recently came out with. I have another finished object related to a video you may have already seen on my channel. These are the December to Remember socks by Twin Stitches Designs. I love them like so much. So if you haven't seen the vlog on my channel already, I opened the December Yarnaceous Fibers book box. I am a little bit behind. I'm trying to get all caught up. I'm hoping to finish up a lot of book boxes this upcoming month in preparation for a couple new things coming here in April. So I'm trying to catch up. This is the December box. It is based off of the book A December to Remember by Jenny Bayliss. This was a really cute story of sisterhood around the winter solstice time. So it was cozy vibes, but not necessarily super holiday focused, which I really liked. It made it so that even though I read the book in February and worked on this project in March, I still really enjoyed the book a lot. And it had some subplots of romance too, so it was just like a nice general fiction type of a story. I think it would be classified as a romance, but for me personally, I feel like the stronger themes were involved with sisterhood and growth and things like that, if that makes sense. Like I said, this is part of a vlog, so if you want to see me open the box from Yarnaceous Fibers, read the book, explore the goodies, and make this pattern that was included in the box, then you can definitely check out that vlog. I'll make sure to link it up above and down below. This sock pattern is designed by Twin Stitches Designs, and like I said, Yarnaceous included this pattern within the box from Julianne, and she dyed yarn specific for this pattern within this box. So as you're reading through the book and opening certain packages on certain pages, you're unveiling parts of the pattern, or you're unveiling different colors of yarn, which is just a super fun experience and makes reading the book that much more enjoyable. So fun. I definitely recommend book boxes if you're a reader and a knitter. At least for Yarnaceous Fibers book boxes, she has included a knitting pattern designed with this yarn that she includes. Though I know other book boxes like Woolbury Fabric Co's doesn't include a pattern and just has open-ended yarn that you can choose to do what you want with it. So different experiences from different book boxes. This was Yarnaceous's book box, and I've really enjoyed opening her book boxes. I knew what book I was getting when I purchased the box, and so I could kind of time my library hold to coincide with when I was planning on reading the book. So that's what I did. So like a lot of Julianne's patterns recently, there's different colorwork motifs on the leg of the sock, and then it goes into some striping. I did modify the pattern. Basically, once I hit the heel, I didn't even pay attention to Julianne's pattern. I just inserted my own heel flap and gusset heel, and then I calculated how many rounds I would do for the foot, and then divided that by however many stripes I wanted. I did the math. I did the math with my gusset as well, and calculated 7 rounds for each colorway to do each contrast color 2 times within the foot, and I really like how it looks this way. A little bit more intentional than previous socks that I've done from these boxes where I've just kind of followed the pattern as written, but I really like my version of this sock. I did have to make the toe a little bit longer than I normally do, but that's okay. It still fits me really, really well. I don't know if it was related to my gauge on these socks compared to the previous colorwork socks I've done by Julianne or what. It was easy to adapt and to just make the toe a little bit longer and a little bit different shaping than I normally do, and to still make a sock that I really like the fit of. I adore these colors so much. Let me see if I can remember what they were called. I think this main color that I did for the cuff, heel, and toe is called Rowan Tree Woods, which is the little town that all these half sisters gather in. Let's see, this bright pink, my favorite probably of the whole bunch, is called Cussing Crocheters, named after a stitching group in this little town. This blue is called Hidden Houses, based off of a little game that their late father invites them to play. This burgundy color is called Drinking Christmas, because of course for winter solstice celebration they needed to have some fun drinks. And then this gray is called Silver Lockets, based off some heirlooms that the family had. So super fun to have all these colors coordinated together and also relating to the book that I was reading. Again, if you want to learn more about that, you can watch my vlog as I open this specific box, or you can check out some of the other book boxes that I have completed by Yarnaceous Fibers. I've got a handful on my channel, and I've also got more coming for sure. I really love those socks. I'm so excited to wear them. I'm hoping the weather will warm up really soon here, because we've had like our 3rd bout of winter in the past like month and a half. Like February was gorgeous, beautiful, such a good month until the very end, and then March has been so up and down that I'm hoping April will turn around and be full on spring, hopefully. So I will get some wear out of these socks. I don't know how much, but I'm excited now that I've shown them on my podcast and really make good use of them. My final finished object that I want to share with you today is the gnome that I made for Sarah Shira's Year of Gnomes Make-Along for the month of March. So I've been knitting one gnome every single month, and I'm still keeping up on it. This is my March gnome, and this was actually a long-term lingering whip that I had barely started. So I just restarted for this knit along, and I was able to finish it and get all of these yarns out of my whip basket, and it just feels really good to go back and finish a long-term whip like this. This is No Made Gifts by Sarah Shira. So cute! And this was part of her like Advent knit along. And so when this came out, there was a different either clue or part of a story or a little extra like recipe or coloring page or activity thing every single day leading up to Christmas. Super fun. I've done a couple other of their advents, and I've had a lot of fun participating in them. I've done a couple of their mystery gnomes as well, separate from the advents, but the advents are something special just because there's lots of other content that just makes it a really fun time for that season of the year. Like I said, I was behind on day one. I had knit the scarf, and that was all I had knit, and then this project sat in my whip basket for 2 years. I think it sat in my basket for 2 whole years. And then I finally picked it up and started fresh. I used the same exact colors in the same exact configuration that I had originally planned. I didn't have to put any thought into what I was making because I had the pattern, I had the yarn, I knew what yarn would go to which contrast color within the pattern, and I just followed it and made it happen. So this is my gnome. So cute. What's her name? Nora, I think? It was really cute. There was a little holiday story of someone new moving into their little village, and I can't remember quite what her name is. She's got a beard, and she's got these cute little like tassel ponytail things, which is cute. There's a couple different hats, and there's a couple other accessories. So this is one hat. I think this is one of my favorites. It is the knotted hat. Cute, cute, cute. But you can actually switch out the hats. Boop. This is the under hat. It's a little weird. Doesn't this remind you of the yellow squash from VeggieTales? It was not intentional, but the shape is just giving me squash vibes. Let's switch out for another hat. This is the square hat, and this is the tall hat. This is so cute with the little tassels. I do really like all 3 of these hats, and all of them play up this like stripy look too, which is really fun. Let's put the top knot hat back on. There's 3 hats included in this pattern. There's also a scarf. Ta-da! I did re-knit the scarf because for this knit along, you can't have any whips. You need to start and complete the gnome within the month. And I thought, might as well just start fresh. So I knit a new scarf and I attached it together so it can kind of slip over his head. Her head? Its head. Their head. There's also this cute little messenger bag that I knit. I was thinking about clasping it closed because it kind of flips up a little bit, but it's been doing all right, just kind of letting it hang. And so I think I might just leave it be, take advantage of the wonkiness. And then finally, there was an additional pattern included within this pattern that was for a stack of presents, which is really fun. So I also knit that. Again, they're not part of the gnome, but I wanted to just complete the entire pattern experience that I missed out on a couple years ago because I got into other things instead of participating in the advent like I had planned. So, ta-da! I even added a cute little bow on top. That's my cute little stack of presents. So now that I've shown you this gnome, I can put this gnome up with my other gnomes. This is like half of them. My daughter stole a bunch to play with. So I'm gonna put this up there and kind of figure out how I wanna rearrange all these cute little accessories. Does this count as like 6 finished objects? There's a lot of little things here. So it was just a fun experience. I liked that there were a lot of different pieces to knit on that were all a little bit different. Though it got a little bit tedious, especially because there was so many ends to weave in and there were parts to kind of sew together and attach, you know, like with multiple tassels going on. And so I feel like gnomes are not for everybody. And I may get sick of gnomes by the end of this year, but I'm hoping that by just doing the gnomes that I already am planning on doing with the mystery knit-alongs and then throwing in a couple other fun gnomes I've wanted to make in between those knit-alongs, I will still be able to complete this challenge 3 months in and 9 months to go. And I'm going to show you later on in this podcast episode what yarns I'm hoping to use for the mystery gnome knit-along for April to count for this Year of Gnomes knit-along as well. Unfortunately for me, both of the works in progress that I showed last podcast that I'm carrying into this podcast, I have had to frog and restart. And so it may look like I am further back than I was a month ago, but that's just because I changed things up and I'm more happy with the versions I have now. It's a little sad, but it's still okay. So let's jump into, first I have this book sleeve that I'm knitting and it's on some small circulars, so it can be a little hard to see exactly, but it's just a basic book sleeve, like a book cozy more of. And ta-da! This is what it looks like. I'm using the color Bibliophile by Dragon Horde Yarns, which I really, really love this color. It's got some not super obvious micro striping, but I can definitely see how the colors are blending together, and I think it's looking really good knit up. I am, maybe 3 inches into this, and I was way farther before, but I switched this over to larger needles, to a magic loop set so that I could try it on some books that I may decide to bring to work or that I may want to put a cozy on for traveling. And it was too big for probably the biggest book that I would possibly want to bring, like a 500-page hardback book kind of size. I don't read like 1,000-page books with my eyeballs, and I don't want to lug them with me to work for night shifts or anything. And so I just decided that it would be better to start fresh, not cast on quite as many stitches. So I knocked off 2 or so inches from what I was knitting, and I started fresh, and I think it's gonna fit a lot better. I think it'll work well for paperbacks still, but because of the nature of stockinette fabric, I think it'll give a lot of stretch, so it'll still be able to fit hardbacks of the size that I would be maybe bringing to work. And that's really the point of this. I wanted something safe that I could slide my books into to throw on my backpack to then take to work. So when I'm working a night shift and I'm trying to stay awake at night in between patient cares, I can bring a book from home without worrying about it getting damaged in my backpack, because there's lots of things thrown in there for work. So that's the goal of this. And I think I'm going to share this pattern. Probably it'll just be a free pattern on Ravelry when I'm all done with this. Again, I'm not in a super big hurry to work on this, but it's been really nice as a stockinette project. I did a Judy's Magic cast on for this project. Once I knit maybe like an inch or so, there was enough fabric here that I could then put this on small circulars instead of having magic loop or like 2 flexi flips or something like that, because it wasn't so much of a 2D shape, but it became more of a 3D shape once I added just a little bit more fabric. And so then I've just knit around. It's been nice, easy knitting to take with me on the go and to just put in a little bit of time. So we'll see how long it takes to get through this, but I wouldn't be surprised if I finish it this month, or at least get to the point where I have to decide how I want to close it at the very top of the book, because I haven't quite decided what I want to do about that. If I want to do a flap, or if I want to just like cinch it or leave it open and do like an I-cord bind off. I haven't really decided what I want to do. And then my other whip that I had to do some frogging on and rework it, and I did not get this done like I had hoped in March, which is a little bit of a bummer, but I also didn't want to like hurt myself by trying so hard to get it done in time. And so I just backed off and gave myself space to just work on this when I felt like it, so that I could still enjoy this process of designing this pattern and putting it onto the world when I'm ready for that. So here's the crochet shawl I was working on, and you'll notice it's got some lacy type details that were not there before. So yes, I ripped back. I have crocheted just about to where I was before, if not just a little bit farther than where I was last podcast episode. So I had to rework a lot of it, and I had to figure out how I wanted to do this lace. I wanted a different texture that had some lace elements to it, but I also thought it would be cool to make it kind of zigzaggy to make it look like maybe roots, maybe. It's fairly simple. This is not a difficult pattern, so I didn't want a crazy motif going on. I'm gonna do a border on this that looks like little trees, and so I thought it would be fun to have little zigzags coming from the trees a little bit. So that's what I did, and I think it's really cute. Something subtle, good way to use some variegated yarn where you can still see some of that texture. Fairly simple pattern, definitely an adventure beginner style pattern. I'm not quite to the point of the shawl yet. I do want to do a little bit farther. I have plenty of yarn left, so I do want to go a little bit farther, maybe extend this bottom by another like 2 or 3 inches, and then I will start decreasing. I'm going to do an asymmetrical shape. This half of the shawl is going to have a different rate of increasing than the other half will be decreasing, if that makes sense. So once I get to that point, I'll start decreasing, but at a slower rate. So it'll be kind of more an elongated look on that side. And then I'm going to turn and do a fun little border that I'm excited about. So I don't know when this will come out, but I do want to make a fall themed shawl knit to kind of pair with this, if that makes sense. So maybe I'll just come out with both these patterns in the fall time, or come out with this one in like August and then knit one in September. I don't really know, but this is a pattern that I have had in my brain for a while, and I finally cast on, and it's giving me a little bit more trouble than I anticipated, but that's okay. It just means I'll take a little bit longer to work on it, but I'm really happy with how it's going right now. And for that shawl, I'm using some Long Dog Fibers yarn. This is in their Bounce sock base in the color The Deep Breath Before the Plunge from their Lord of the Rings collection. And I am using a G-hook, a 4mm hook for that fingering weight yarn. And yes, it's got a way to go. So I honestly don't think I'll finish that in April either. But again, I don't have a deadline, so it'll get done when it gets done. yarn goodies to share with you this month. I didn't get a lot that I haven't shown on previous podcasts because I podcast about every month. You see approximately what I got in the last month, but a lot of the yarn I got last month was at the beginning of the month, and so it was right before I filmed my podcast. So I really only have 2 skeins of yarn to share with you. They're both from clubs that I'm participating in. And this is Yarnaceous Fibers Swift Reeds Club. And this is their Sino fingering base, which is a 75% superwash merino wool, 15% nylon, and 10% silver stellina. This is the color Never Ever Getting Back Together. Look at that sparkle. So cute. So last podcast, I said that I was getting the DK weight yarn. That's because I got the wrong skein. And so when I look back, I was like, oh, I ordered fingering. My first month was fingering. So I just reached out to Maggie and she responded really quickly and said, oh, okay, let's just swap it out. She sent me the fingering weight yarn and also a return label so I could send her back the DK weight yarn. So we are all tidied up. So now I have fingering weight yarn all in the same base so that I can maybe make a blanket with this. I haven't decided. I just thought it would be really fun to participate in this book and yarn club. This is different than her book boxes, but each of these skeins is inspired by a book that is inspired by Taylor Swift. Hence the name We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together. This book is by Sophie Gonzalez, which I've heard that name before. So she's not super obscure when it comes to romance authors. So I'm sure I can get a copy from my library. I just need to look into that. I have started going through the books that have inspired this yarn. I would love to finish all 13 books that are going to inspire this yarn throughout the year. I'd like to get through them all. And my first one, I actually really, really liked. More than I thought I would. I even went out and bought a copy to put on my shelves, which I don't do all the time. Already a great start to this little experiment to read all of these books. I'm really excited about that yarn. It's just really pretty to see these colors all together. Lots of fun pastels and lots of pinks too. And I'm excited to see where this club goes for the rest of the year. It also came with this stitch marker, little telephone, and then another yarn club that I'm participating in is the Yarna Club from Fangirl Fibers, and this was part of their Romantasy quarterly update, I guess, if that makes sense. So they're selling the club as quarterly installments, and so I purchased the first quarter, which was 3 skeins of yarn, all Romantasy inspired, and this skein is inspired by Assistant to the Villain. Super fun. And it is their 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon base, their fingering weight yarn. Came with a little stitch marker with the book too. And it also came with a little button. Yarn it. Inspired by Book It, where you could earn like a personal pizza or whatever. It even came with this little piece of paper giving a little rundown of the book itself, which is so fun. This is February's book. I think I misspoke, but the March book should get here. Like, it's been shipped, I'm pretty sure. So I need to keep an eye out for that because it'll come really soon here. I actually DNF'd this book. I was not feeling it. I think I might have not been in the right mood. It was just a little bit too silly and goofy, and I wasn't liking the dynamic between the 2 main characters right at the beginning, and so I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue, so I just DNF'd. But that doesn't mean I won't try it again and see if maybe a different mood I'll be more likely to read it, or maybe I will get the ebook or the book from my library and read it that way, just in case the audiobook was like giving the wrong vibes that I wasn't liking. I don't really know. I still like this colorway, and I thought this would be really fun to get more bookish yarn since my channel is all about all things cozy. Oh, and I do want to share that when I did that little switcheroo with Maggie of Yarnaceous Fibers to get the right weight of yarn, she also threw in this cute mini. This is in her Salsa fingering base, 85% superwash merino and 15% nylon. And this is her maple mascarpone fig tart. I thought it was gonna say mascarpone, but that definitely doesn't say that. I don't know what it's supposed to say. I do not know that word. Mascarpone. It sounds delicious though. Maple fig tart, yum. And this is such a pretty little mini. So if you are local to Utah and you are hoping to go to the Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair that happens in Farmington in April, I am planning on going. I'm going to be doing a vlog. I am taking a class this year for the first time ever that I'm really excited about. And I know that Maggie is going to bring more of this colorway to the Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair. So make sure that if you are hoping to go, that you swing by Maggie's booth to take a look at this color in person. She did do a pre-order for the Pi Day multi-dyer extravaganza thing, but that pre-order has definitely closed by now. But the yarn will still be available. So it's fun that I got this cute little mini. That was really nice of Maggie to just throw that in as a little goodie for me. So thank you so much. If you've seen on my channel, I have a whip parade video that I came out with, I think in February, where I basically took a look at all the whips I have, all the project bags with yarn set aside for future projects, everything that I've started and stopped on, all my even really old crochet whips from when I hadn't learned to knit yet. I missed a couple random things that were not in my whip baskets, but I was able to consolidate, frog a little bit of stuff, kind of reorganize, and I really want to get through some of my old whips. So as part of my plans for the month of April, I really want to go back and finish this sock project that I've knit one sock on and I've not knit the second one. And there's a few reasons why, but this is the Dino Doodle socks. And I made this pattern as a test for Jamie Lomax of Pacific Knit Co. So cute. I made these for my daughter, if you can't tell. She's 4. This is her size. I really love this color palette. I asked my daughter a couple colors that she would want. I think she picked like pink and purple and green, and I was like, yes, let's make a palette of that. Don't pick any more colors. I grabbed all of the minis and the scraps that I had in that kind of color family, blues, greens, pinks, purples, and I threw them all in a bag, and I knit these socks, testing the pattern. I ended up doing, I think I did toe-up socks. Yes, I did toe-up socks, because here is my second sock with just the toe done. I really need to finish these socks before my daughter outgrows these socks, because that would be really sad if she didn't get a chance to wear them. I need to work on these. Color work is nice in that it's very much like, oh, one more row, I'll just do one more row kind of thing. But I stalled out on these socks because when I cast them on, I had been knitting a lot of toe-up socks, and I just needed a break from toe-up socks. Mentally, it worked better for my brain to do color work with the way the charts were written, to just do it from the toe up. I made that decision. I think that made sense, but I was just sick of toe-up socks, and so I didn't really want to work on the second sock. Also, this is just like an unruly project because there's so many little minis involved with changing these charts out, and because I didn't finish the second sock right after the first sock, now I have to go back and track down the pattern that's somewhere in my emails from when I was testing this months ago, which is just kind of a pain. And I did that to myself. So I'm hoping that if I just set my mind to it and get started again on this, that I'll have a lot of fun and that I can get through this really quickly. Because again, it is a child sock. It is small. I either did a fish lips kiss heel or a German short row heel. I think it was a fish lips kiss heel. So it was just a fun time. And I think that this would be really fun to work on and to make it a priority, but I just haven't done that yet. So I would love to clean up this mess of all of these scrap yarns. I also want to just clean up my scrap yarns in general because I've got a lot. I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a little bin right there overflowing of scrap yarns. This bin right here on my bookshelf also full of scrap yarns. So these are my bigger scraps of fingering weight yarns. And then I also have like this bag full of yarns, and it's just a lot going on. Oh, and I also have some minis in that bin right there that's in my bookshelf too. I definitely need to do just a good yarn organization. Maybe I'll take you along with me for a yarn reorganization video as spring is coming, you know, some spring cleaning, reorganizing, putting the springy and summer yarns to the forefront of what's going on in my shelving so that I can be excited to work on some new projects. I don't know, maybe I'll do that. But also, with all these gnomes I want to knit, most of them require tonals or semi-solid yarns, and I have a lot of minis and scraps that fall into that category, but also not all of my scraps do, because I do have a lot of full skeins of like variegated or speckled yarns that I've already worked, and so they're in my scraps too. I think it would be really helpful for me to organize all my scraps and take out all the tonals and semi-solids that would be really good for gnomes and have all those in one place so that when I am searching for yarns to make more gnomes for this year of Gnomes Knit Along, I have everything in one place that I can pull from. My goal for the Gnome Knit Along is to not buy any yarn, but to use scraps and to use minis that I already have. And so that's been really successful, and I've already made tons of gnomes. I mean, this is like half of them. The other half are upstairs. And so I would really love to be able to continue that practice and use up some of these scraps and play around with colors like I have been. I think it's been a good way to stretch my color theory and the ways that I work with colors. I think it'll be easier to do if I reorganize things. So that's something that I want to do. Let me know if you want to see a yarn vlog of me reorganizing my shelves, doing a little spring cleaning, rearranging things, etc., because I would love to take you along with me. Speaking of gnomes, I have the yarn set aside for my April gnome knit along, which is going to be Professor Fungi from Sarah Shira. This is a mystery gnome knit along that she's doing this month, and I figured I'll participate in this month's knit along, and that'll also apply to the Year of Gnomes year-long knit along that she is doing. So kill two birds with one stone. For this prompt, she said 4 colors. I have the like skin and beard color. I just use white. I've got a lot of little random scraps of white yarn, so I'm gonna just use that. And then, I can't remember the colors. I think color 1 is the body, so I'm gonna use this like sagey green color. These two are the same color. They're just, I think I made 2 socks and separated the yarn out, and so that's why I have 2 different balls. This will be plenty for the body, and I did actually use it on my previous gnome. It was this color that's on there. It was on my messenger bag. I mean, he's got some stripes on him too, so you can kind of see that sagey color in another gnome project, but this time it'll be a more prominent part. And then color 2 is a darker shade of color 1, and I chose this green, a lot darker shade, honestly. Ta-da, that's them together. But this dark green, I think is from Yarnaceous Fibers Dragon Teeth by Michael Cry Endbook Box, I think is what this is from. It's a really nice, deep, rich color. And then as the contrast, that'll be kind of like the mushroom top, because this is gonna be mushroom themed. I chose this like pinky purple color. I really wish I had something slightly more pink than purple than this, but I really didn't have anything that was this bright in my stash. And so this was like the closest I could find to the color I was looking for. And I still think it's gonna look really good with these greens. So I'm excited about that. This is definitely giving spring vibes, so I'm really excited to cast that on. And I'll be casting that on either today or tomorrow, I think. I mentioned the yarns I had stacked over here. They are from Mulberry Fabric Co.'s Pride and Prejudice Club that I did. I did the sock set club, and so I got a full skein of the variegated or speckled yarn, and then a mini came with it, a coordinating mini that was a tonal. Now I have 7 sock sets inspired by Pride and Prejudice, basically the 2005 version of Pride and Prejudice, because there are many versions. There's a book. This is based off of the movie. And I'm not a Pride and Prejudice snob. I love all things Pride and Prejudice. In fact, I've been thinking about reading some off-the-cuff Pride and Prejudice, like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies or Pride and Prejudice in Space. I've not gotten that far yet, but I think it would be really fun. Would you want to see a vlog of me reading some weird Pride and Prejudice stories? Because I think it'll just be a fun time. So let me show you these colors really quick. My thought is to make a sweet shop blanket by Laura Penrose and to have a coordinating neutral color, probably just some bear yarn to counteract all the colors, kind of like what Laura does in her version of the sweet shop blanket. I think it'll look better that way than to get more of the tonals and to kind of balance it out in that sense. So that was my thought. TBD if that's actually going to happen, but that's what I'm thinking. This skein is A Truth Universally Acknowledged. One of my favorites. So pretty. And then Bennett Sisters, also really beautiful. The blue-green. What excellent boiled potatoes. I don't remember what the minis are called. I'd have to track them down, but you can also find that on Mulberry Fabric Co.'s Instagram page because they recently did a Pride and Prejudice Club pre-order. Most beautiful creature. I love the purple. The speckles are not something I would be drawn to normally, but I love this shade of purple. This one's my favorite, hands down. The hand flex. Oh my goodness, I need to watch the movie again. So pretty with the greens and the pinks. Everything I love. This one is more of a semi-solid or some light speckling. This is called My Courage Always Rises. And finally, this is You Have Bewitched Me. Swoon, oh my goodness. So all these yarns are in the Berry Cozy yarn base, which is 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. Yes, these are beautiful. This makes me really happy. I am so excited to make something. I think a sweet shop with some bear yarn to contrast with all these colors would be great. I probably will only get like 1 or 2 triangles out of these minis, but I'll get a lot more out of the full skeins, and it'll just be an interesting experience to play with colors and kind of how I want to rearrange everything. So if you want to see a vlog of me working through that, since it'll be a very different project than working on the Astrid Blanket vlog, then let me know if you are interested in seeing that. Overall, just let me know what you want to see from me, because I've been doing podcasts, I've been doing reading wrap-up type videos, I have occasional reading vlogs or project vlogs, and I'll throw in a couple other things here and there, and I just want to hear from you what you want to see from me. What brings you back to my channel, or what would you want to see from me? And then the final project that I'm really thinking about making is a sock project. I haven't made socks a lot the past couple months. I've kind of slowed down a little bit. I kind of went sock bananas, and so I think I needed a little bit of time to step away from socks, but I'm really ready to knit another pair of socks, something that's vanilla or vanilla plus, you know, something that just has a little bit more detail than a typical vanilla sock, that I can just still have a lot of fun knitting, but will be pretty easy to work on and pretty mindless. So my thought for that is the Comfort Core Socks by Summer Lee. I really wanted to make this pattern. I purchased it immediately when she came out with it, and I just haven't casted it on yet. So I pulled some skeins from my stash that I really want to use for this pattern. And while I could make it in just a single color or have one contrast color, I am drawn to the 2 contrast colored version to do multiple color stripes along the top of the sock. And I'll probably do most of the sock in just the main color, but I think having multiple contrasts for a little bit of sports striping or like a different toe or a different heel, things like that, will be really fun. And so these are the colors that I pulled. Let me know what you think I should cast on for the Comfort Core socks, and we'll probably see those coming up real soon here. But this is the Eye Candy sock set from Through the Wardrobe Yarn Co. I just got this actually for Valentine's Day, and it includes the minis Stern Brunch Daddy and Floss. This is based off of a book called Eye Candy by Esme Brett, I think. I'll pop it up on the screen because I can't quite remember. But this is so cute, and it's just really fun. A big pop of color kind of in your face a little bit, but also not crazy busy. As for the main color, it's very pastel-y, and so I think these minis will really show up well as stripes in this pattern. Another sock set that's kind of a similar color palette, where the minis have more color and the main skein has less color, is this set by Dying Wishes Yarn Co. It is Kiss Me, is the main color, with Red Hot and Electric Love. I think this one's Red Hot and Electric Love. So these minis are really bright and fun. I love this main skein so much. In the like pastel background watercolor look with a lot of this white and then some really fun speckles that'll really bring out these pops of color. And so with color work, I don't think this would be a good match. But with striping, I think those stripes will still show up really, really well, even with the speckles, that they'll still be really distinct colors in the striping. So I think this would be a really good fit for a pattern like this. You can kind of see when you see all these skeins together that I've pulled kind of what mood I'm in, and so you can help me decide which one I should cast on. This sock set is from Botanical Yarn. Oh, they have it upside down. This is like the butt of the hank. It's fine. This is from Botanical Yarn, and this is their Woolen Folk 2023 sock set I purchased from them. What a time to be alive. I've got a vlog. You can kind of see my experience. I did not rail on Woolen Folk in that video because I was still trying to process everything that I was going through and trying to be positive about the whole experience. So other people have a lot more tea, but you can see in the little filming I do have kind of what it looked like. This is their 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon base. And I like how there's like a brown mini and this like purpley pinkish mauve mini. It's got this creamy yellowy base almost on this main skein with some really fun pops of color in these speckles that coordinate with the minis. These both have kind of similar ideas, but very different color palettes and styles. And then the final skein that I'm trying to consider is from Treehouse Knits, and this is the Midnight Children sock set. I don't know what the minis are called. I don't see it here, but this is also a 75% superwash merino and a 25% nylon base. I love this like variegated neutral. There's just so much dimension to this color. So I think that this will be a really interesting sock compared to the others that are a little bit more muted. I think that this is going to be really fun, but these minis are also going to stand out in a big way if I do them in stripes for this Comfort Core sock pattern. So I think this is a little bit different than the other choices, but it was the very first one I picked out that I was drawn to. So let me know which sock set you think I should cast on for this Comfort Core sock pattern, because they're all calling to me for different reasons. I think that my top two choices are probably going to be these two, but I'm not quite sure. So let me know what you think. I think that's everything I have to share with you today. Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. I really don't have a lot to say other than these plans. I feel like March was a harder month than I thought it would be from a mental space standpoint. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and they agreed that March is kind of a hard month. I'm glad that I made it through, and I'm looking forward to the springtime. And I think I just need to do like a really good reset, really good spring cleaning, not just of my home, but also of my life, just to kind of reorganize, reset, and refocus for the warmer weather and the things that I hope to make. So I'm really excited about these projects I've got in mind, but I'm sure there's other things that I'm going to be casting on soon or working through soon for my whip basket, some lingering things. So if you want to stick around, I would love to have you to join me as I experience all things cozy, both books and yarn. If you want to be notified every time I post a new video, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification down below, because I post consistently, but not on a regular schedule because of my schedule and life as a mom, as a wife, and as a nurse. If you're interested in watching other yarny content, I have that here. If you're interested in bookish content, I also have that. And I also have some vlogs that combine both books and yarn together in the same type of vlogs. So make sure to check out other things on my channel if you're interested in that, and let me know what other types of content you would love to see from me. And until next time, happy making. Bye!